I'm back with Jason Miller, the CEO of the terrific new social media platform called Getter. Jason, talk about, you've basically you've hit the ground running on Sunday, and we're just into day 2 or 3 of Getter. How are you doing so far? And what can we look forward to in the weeks ahead?
Well, Dinesh, we've been off to some pretty exciting start so far. We've crossed over 1 million users who've signed up for the platform. Literally 3 days, 1 million users. That's the fastest ever in social media history to get to that point. We have folks all over the world. Brazil was actually our #2 most active country when we kicked off. And when we launched. And so we're seeing #1 ranking in the Google Play Store. We got up to #8 in the overall Apple app download store, #3 for social media networks for Apple. So we're seeing just huge growth. And as we talked about, just the people like the clean look. They like that it's smooth. They like that a lot of prominent names, conservatives are on there. Dinesh, folks like yourself, Secretary Pompeo, Ben Carson, Steve Cortez, Jen Pellegrino, Natalie Hart, all your favorites are coming over. And some of the folks who've been previously kicked off, like DC Drano, Rogan O'Hanley, he's on there and he's posting away. So we're glad to have him.
I think, interestingly, of course, it's great to have a refuge for conservatives. It's a place where people who are right of center can speak freely. I wonder if over time it might even be that we get some liberals who come over, because after all, there's no debate occurring on Twitter. There's no debate occurring on the other platforms. What they suffocate debate. So in a way, a platform like Getter creates the possibility of some real engagement across the political spectrum. I'm assuming that you have a right of center audience mostly now, because of course it's those of us who are right of center who are the ones being choked on the mainstream platforms. But do you foresee the possibility of Getter being a kind of place for the kind of real engagement that should occur all the time in a democratic society?
Absolutely. In fact, I'm interviewing someone to be our lead Democrat for outreach this afternoon. And so we want this to be folks all across the political spectrum. Yes, right now, a lot of the hunger for a new platform is coming from conservatives. But also, Dinesh, this is important because think around the world. Think about, again, Brazil, India, South Korea, Japan. The folks in a lot of these countries wouldn't necessarily wake up and say, I'm a Republican or Democrat. Of course, they have different parties there. They might not even say, I'm a conservative or I'm a liberal. But there are really 2 things I think anyone who would draw anyone to this platform. If you believe in free speech and you're against cancel culture and deplatforming people, if you believe in those 2 principles, then we think Getter's a perfect place for you, regardless of where in the world you're from.
Jason, the more successful you are, I think the more you become kind of a target. A target not only for potential hackers, but for people on the left who go, hey, these guys are getting too dangerous. Let's try to figure out ways to take them down. Now, as I understand it, you are currently using the Amazon Web Service. I don't know if you're in the Apple App Store, but are you vulnerable to these left-leaning digital moguls who could say, hey, listen, Jason's getting too big for his boots. Let's launch the kind of coordinated strike on him that we launched successfully against Parler?
Another great question. So we do have certain redundancies in place with regard to the cloud hosting operation. We do think that the way that we've been proactive with our moderation efforts that it won't get to that, but that doesn't mean that I haven't spent an inordinate amount of time thinking through it. So we do have redundancies and backups available. The one thing on the Apple front that's notable, and folks may or may not realize this, but say if you have a Samsung Galaxy, for example, which by the way, some interesting market research on this, for folks that voted for President Trump, actually 57% have a Samsung Galaxy or another Android operated device. So even though Apple has a much bigger market share overall nationally, over half of Trump voters actually are on the Samsung Galaxy or the Google Android. Why is that significant? Because it's an open system. So you can go right to a website and download an app of your choice, whereas Apple is a closed system. And so they literally, again, they can play judge, jury, executioner with who even can be on an iPhone. It's a key distinction. I think there's going to be a backlash, I think, with regard to this whole notion of a closed system. But the other point that I want to hit on, Dinesh, is just regarding the security issue. And we did have a hack in the very first day that we launched, in the very first hour, where someone went in and changed about 20 user profile names. There was no, first of all, we don't collect any data from people, any personally identifying data. We've also made a commitment we'll never sell or give off any of our user data, unlike the other companies. We were able to fix it and plug that hole within an hour. And the cybersecurity aspect is something we take very seriously. We've retained an additional white hat firm to go through and do penetration testing just to make sure that the platform is completely safe, and that's what they've come back and said. But look, we have a big target on our back. This is the fastest growing social media app in world history. And when you're in first place, that target's right on your back.
Well, Jason, I just want to congratulate you. I personally am having just fun on the platform, and just that sense that you can breathe freely and you can speak openly. I mean, I just don't see how platforms that allow censorship have a long-term future. So all the best for Getter. I want to do what I can to let people know about this and also come on board so that we can engage in civilized conversation and exciting debate, the kind of debate that used to occur in this country but has now become really scarce. Once again, thanks for coming on, and thanks for giving us this gift of a platform that we can all engage on.
And Dinesh, thank you. And most importantly, thank you for your voice. Thank you for your leadership within the free speech movement. Thank you for your efforts to push back against censorship or deplatforming. And thanks for your leadership even with the conservative movement, being a thought leader. I think you're a very important voice in this process. We're honored to have you on our platform.
Jason, that means a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.